I pulled my young nephew out of the sandbox and he pointed at a strange woman across the park, saying, "That lady told me she knows your middle name." My blood went cold. Nobody calls me by my middle name except my mom when she's pissed. I looked where he was pointing and saw her, my ex-girlfriend Adrienne, standing by the water fountain like she had every right to be there. We had a restraining order against her for 8 months now. She wasn't supposed to be within 500 feet of me or anyone in my family. My nephew Troy was only 6 years old and had sand all over his Batman shirt. I grabbed his hand and started walking fast toward my car. "Did she say anything else to you?" I asked, trying not to sound scared. Troy nodded. "She said your middle name is James, and that she misses you and wants to talk." What the hell? I never told Adrienne my middle name. I went by my first name with everyone. The only way she could know that is if she'd been digging through my stuff or talking to my family. Neither option was good. I got Troy to the car and locked the doors. Then I called the cops right there in the parking lot. The operator asked what the emergency was, and I explained the restraining order situation. She said officers were on their way and to stay in the vehicle. Through the windshield, I could see Adrienne still standing there watching us. She had this weird smile on her face like she'd won something. Troy was asking why we had to leave, and I told him we just had to go. That's all. The cops showed up maybe 10 minutes later. 2 officers walked over to Adrienne and started talking to her. I could see her arguing with them, waving her hands around like she does. One of the cops walked over to my car, and I rolled down the window. He asked me to confirm the restraining order details, and I showed him the paperwork I keep in my glove box. My lawyer told me to always carry it just in case. The officer nodded and said they were arresting her for violating the order. I watched them put handcuffs on her and walk her to the squad car. She was screaming something at me, but I couldn't hear it through the closed windows. Troy asked if the lady was in trouble, and I said yes. She broke a rule. After they took her away, the second officer came over and took my statement. I explained that she approached my nephew, told him personal information about me, and that this was the 3rd time she'd violated the order. The first 2 times, she just showed up at my apartment building and my work. This time, she went after my family. The officer wrote everything down and said the DA would probably push for jail time now since she involved a minor. He gave me a case number and told me I'd need to come down to the station tomorrow to give a full report. I drove Troy back to my sister's house. She opened the door and immediately knew something was wrong. I told her what happened and her face went white. She grabbed Troy and checked him over like Adrienne had hurt him or something. Then she turned to me and said, "How the fuck did she even know you were at that park?" That's when it hit me. I hadn't posted anything on social media. I hadn't told anyone except my sister that morning when she asked me to watch Troy, which meant Adrienne was either following me or she'd somehow gotten access to my messages. My sister called her husband and told him to come home from work. Then she called my mom. Within an hour, my whole family knew what happened. My mom wanted me to stay at her place for a few days, but I said no. I wasn't going to let Adrienne control my life more than she already had. The next day, I went to the police station and gave my statement. The detective assigned to the case said they'd found Adrienne's car parked 2 blocks from the park. She'd been waiting there, watching. They also found a notebook in her car with pages of information about me, my work schedule, my address, my car license plate, and a list of my family members with their addresses too. The detective said it was textbook stalking behavior, and they were charging her with that on top of the restraining order violation. 2 weeks later, I had to go to court. Adrienne's lawyer tried to claim she just happened to be at the park and didn't know I'd be there, but the prosecutor brought out that notebook and read some of the entries out loud. One of them said, "James never takes Troy to the North Park, always the one on Maple Street." My middle name and my nephew's name, right there in her handwriting. The judge didn't even deliberate. He sentenced her to 6 months in county jail and extended the restraining order for another 3 years. When the bailiff took her away, she looked back at me and mouthed, "I love you." I just stared at her until she was gone.